Friends, what should have been an easy knife review turned into a real pain in the butt. Stick around to the end of the video and you'll see why. So my selection of EDC knives has grown over the years to knives similar to the Mannix 2 or the Spyderco Para 2 or lately the Benchmade tagged out 3.5-inch knives. They just seem to be perfect with their deep carry pocket clips, one-handed easy open access holes like the Spidey hole, and they just make a great knife. But that's not where I started. I started out with small knives like the Peanut and this little center swell Jack. I mean, these are the size knives I had as a kid growing up. This here was a big knife back in the day, this old Craftsman. I remember getting that, and I thought it was huge. It was 3 blades. But today, you know, we talked about some Spyderco Grasshopper and the Spyderco Dragonfly. You know, those are modern day. But, you know, those are expensive knives. Old Timer has always been an economy line, and they still make these. Even though this one here was made in China, it's still good quality, nice little knife. So I got on eBay and I said, you know what? Since we're talking about Old Timer, let's see if we can get a USA made one. And I found this new old stock Old Timer right here, the 330T Middleman Jack pocket knife. I googled new old stock, and this one here says it's got shaving sharp high carbon cutlery steel blades, made in the USA, and I'm excited to check it out. But before we do, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share it to any of your friends that might like similar content to this. It's what keeps the channel going. Thank you. Alright, so let's unbox this little guy and see what we get. Is it really American made? Now this one here was supposed to be sent out to some department store. But look at this. I remember this now. I haven't seen this in forever. This was the paper that I used to get with my Old Timer knives when I was a kid. And it just talks about taking care of your knife warranty, you know, all the details of replace your knife, why they won't replace your knife. There's all the details there. Here's your registration. Supposed to cut that off and send it in. Yeah. Look here, it even tells you how to sharpen your knife. Look at that. Yeah, what degree, how to swipe it on the stone. Ain't that cool? Alright, that's what we're looking for right there. Made in the USA. So yes, we have a USA made Schrade Old Timer. And that's what I was looking for. Alright. Let's go ahead and put that away. Oh, check it out. Alright, so that's who Walter was, the guy in charge back in the day. Alright, so now it belongs to Taylor Brands, I believe. Let's get out this little plastic bag. So, stick that in there. Let's get this out of the way and we'll get up and personal on this knife here. Alright, so this is the Old Timer 330T. And it is a good looking knife. This one has the saw cut Delron handles. When I was a kid, believe it or not, I favored this over the jig bone. You know, nowadays the jig bone, you know, looks prettier to me, but I wasn't into pretty knives when I was a kid. I thought this Delron looked cool with its saw cut, gave me a good grip, and it was easier on my small fingers than the jig bone. It felt better when I was whittling, and that's what I did. I did a lot of whittling when I was little, carving little bears and stuff like that. This is a cool little knife. Now this one's only got 2 blades. It's got this little place right here that helps you get to that nail nick. Alright, so I don't remember any like that when I was a kid. Most of mine just had 2 or 3 blades. And this one's got a little pin blade here. It's pretty sharp. Doesn't have anything on the on the tang there, any kind of tang stamp or anything. And it looks like it's about an 1 3/8. That little pen knife, the little cutting edge on that is an 1 3/8. Check it out. Alright, so the other one is this clip point blade. And there is your Mormons. I guess that was a department store. Must be up north or something, because I never heard of them down here, but this was a knife that was sent out and labeled with their brand. There's your tang stamp. Schrade USA 330T. Nice and clear. And it's about 2 1/16. I wouldn't call it 2 1/8. Like 2 1/16 of cutting edge. And it's about 5/16 deep. And the knife is about 3/8 thick at the bolsters and a little wider in the middle. Let's see what this thing weighs in at. Alright, here we go. Oop, I got it on grams. Let's switch that over to ounces. Alright, 1.73 ounces for the Middleman Jack, or the 330T Schrade. Same knife. Let's compare that to the Peanut, which comes in at 1.275. And the Center Swell Jack, 1.71. So it's right there with the 330T. Dragonfly is a lot lighter at 1.17. Let's see what the Grasshopper. The Grasshopper is 1.17, same as the Dragonfly. Alright. So the 330T is 1.73. That's just, look at that, 1.73. So they're pretty much the same. Alright. Good comparison. Two-bladed knife. Looks like the blades are pretty even. The handle's a little longer on the 330T. Let's check that out. Alright. The Center Swell Jack's a little bit wider because it's got those jigged bolsters or scales or whatever you want to call them. And the 330T looks like it's about 3/8 inch longer. Let's look at these blades. These blades are almost identical. I mean, if anything, the 330 might be a 1/16 longer, but just barely. Alright, so they're pretty comparable with the blades. Both of them, the tip's just a little bit rounded, not real sharp. But I don't know. It's a nice looking little knife. I like those Delron handles, always have. The shield is nice and smooth and inlaid. It doesn't stick out. And you know, the transitions are decent. They're not as good as the case, but you know, that's a knife that probably was 1/3 of the price of the case. Alright, let's see if that comes a little sharper than the case out of the box. That's not good. Wow. This is horrible. That is horrible. Let's check out the little pin blade. See how bad it is. Man, this has got to be the worst knife I've ever purchased. Knew that thing doesn't cut anything. Alright, well, we got the tools to fix it. So usually a little knife like this, I just get my little Spyderco double-sided sharpener here. It's got a medium on one side and a fine, and probably this thing's just got a wire burr or something on there we got to get off. So just put it on the medium side here and give it a few strokes. See if we can clean this thing up a little bit. Huh. Usually I can feel the bevel. Anyway, I'm going to fast forward this a little bit here because I spent some time on this. And even off film, I went over and sat on the couch for a little bit and messed with it for a while. And spoiler alert, I never could get this thing to feel right on this stone. It just never had that right feel. So I thought maybe it was me. I've been a little wore out, went shrimping all night, stayed up pretty late. So I think, maybe I'm just off a little bit. Maybe I'm just not getting the angle right. I tried it a couple different ways. Yeah, trying to get it to where I can get that bevel just right and get an edge on this knife. But it just never felt right, never really produced a good edge. I knew it was dull, I'm just showing you here. Even after about 20 minutes, that didn't even do any good. So I broke out my Sharp Maker Spyderco. So, okay, maybe I'm not getting the angle right. So let's put it on here. And pretty much you can tell from that camera I'm keeping my angle dead on. And I worked it on this for quite a while. And probably another 20 minutes or so on the Sharp Maker. Thinking this should take care of it. Just gotta get my angle right on there. And I gave it a few strops on my leather strop just to polish it off. No bueno. What is going on? Why am I having such a hard time with this knife getting an edge? Yeah, I'm not the end-all knife sharpener guy, but I've been around. So, all right, let's bring out the hapstone. So I went ahead and took one arm off, and I learned that recently. And it's a lot easier on these little slip joints to go ahead and close it halfway and get a better purchase on the tang right there. So that's what I'm doing here. So remember that trick if you got a hapstone. Sometimes it's easier to close the knife and get a little bit more grip on that tang. See how it fits in there, but I still had to put this G10 spacer back there because the taper on the blade kept pushing the knife back towards the screw. So wedge that in there, and I got it nice and tight. No wiggle, no worries. And I got the Neb Ursa series diamond stones, and I started with the 240 grit until I felt a burr, and then flipped it over, worked the other side of the edge. Make sure I clean it in between. And I like to wet the diamond stone down with a little bit of water that's got just a couple drops of Dawn in there. That helps keep the stones clean. I work the second side. And then I flip that stone over to the 400 grit diamond. It's a 240 and 400 grit, different grit on each side. Wetted it down, started back down the first side. And I also like to just make sure I check and make sure the screw stays nice and snug. Any movement on that blade that gets it out of whack is going to change the angle and throw off your sharpening technique. So I also put my finger under there to make sure I'm not rocking the blade down, because that can throw off your angle. And I make sure I don't put too much pressure on it. And I like to keep cleaning everything as I go. And throw this rag down here. Normally I put a pan, but I knew I wasn't going to get super sloppy today. And work the other side of this. I actually ended up working back and forth a few times on that 400. Just making sure that I got it good. And then I swapped up to the 800 grit and worked it a couple times, keeping everything nice and wet, clean. But you can see, if you look at the rag down there and look at my fingers, man, I'm taking a lot of metal off this thing to get it reprofiled. And it took a while. I mean, I have cut this tape quite a bit and edited it, but I probably spent a good hour and a half with these stones on this little blade for a little 2-inch of cutting edge. That is a long time. This has been one of the hardest blades to sharpen. And you know what? I just don't believe it's carbon steel, like the box says. It doesn't have anything stamped on the blade that says stainless steel. But I believe it is. I believe it's some kind of stainless. Maybe they swapped over at the end or something, but this is not the Schrade knife that I had when I was a kid. I used to sharpen these on my Arkansas sharpening stone, and that's why I like the Schrade so much, because they were so easy to sharpen. Alright, so let's get the hapstone out of the way, and let's clean this up a little bit because it's pretty nasty from all that water and grit. Let's get a new fresh rag out here, and let's go ahead and lubricate it up. And speaking of lubricant, I now have my knife lubricant and protector pretty much fine-tuned. This is working really great. I'm really happy with it. You know, non-toxic formula, safe around food. Everything is NSD certified. Everything's food grade, non-toxic. That way, if you carve an apple, you can eat that piece of apple without worrying about what kind of lubricant you have on your knife. A lot of knife lubricants are just modern day synthetic transmission fluids that they repackage and sell to you as some kind of super lube. And this is here. Look how nice and thick and how it clings. See how it's not running down? It's nice viscosity. That's what I wanted. I wanted to get the viscosity right. But this here is just food grade, a really high grade of mineral oil, which is a great lubricant to begin with. And I've added 2 proprietary ingredients, one to give it a little bit more lubrication, and another one to help it shine up the handles. So it does a good job. Even these Delrons, it's got them looking pretty good, don't it? And my fingers. I need to go wash my hands. Alright, so let's get a piece of paper out first and see if it's going to do any better. Here we go. Alright, start with a clip point. That's better. Yeah. Yeah. A little better. Still got some issues though, huh? Alright, let's get the leather strop. I cleaned it off a little bit ago too. Got too much compound on it. Let's give this thing a few swipes. Just make sure we don't have any kind of burr or anything on there. Light but steady pressure. And you're looking more for a drag than you are pushing down on it. But you want a little bit of friction, but you want the friction as you're moving up and down the strop, not pushing down towards the wood. And another thing, you see I'm getting a little bit of compound on there, so I come over and I tilt it up and just hit the very edge of that leather, just to help clean off some of that compound and make sure I'm getting all the way up and down that blade. See what I'm doing there? Alright. That feels a little better. Alright, let's clean that off. Alright. Got a piece of paper here. Ooh. I think we got a lightsaber. Yeah, that did the trick. Ooh. I think that was me, not the knife. Yeah. Yeah, much better. Now we'll just have to see how she holds up, how she holds that edge. As hard as it is, I would say should hold up pretty good. This thing was a bear. Alright, that's about it. I appreciate you watching the video. This knife wore me out. Once again, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, share it to your friends. Don't forget to check out my knife giveaway and my knife contest, alright?